Hey everybody, I think we are going, and if anybody's tuned in and you can hear me, let me know in the chat so I can make sure you can hear me and see me okay. And if you're joining new for the first time, my name is Megan. I'm an architectural designer based in Arkansas, and I have started these Revit live tutorials. And if you're returning, thanks for coming back. I hope you brought a friend. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to be working on our porches. I really wanted to get to that last week and we just didn't get to it. So we're just going to jump right in, and I'm going to go ahead and get my screen sharing. If y'all hear meowing in the background, I have a cat in here and there's somebody outside on my deck painting something, and she really wants to go outside. So she's probably going to be one. I promise she is not being harmed in any way. She just really wants to go outside. Okay, so here, if you have this pulled up recently, it should be right here. If not, you can go find it. But mine was right here at the front. So we're going to go ahead and open. Now, if there are any problems with the sharing or anything, then let me know. I think everything looks good on my end. So what we're going to do first is go ahead and put in our floors. So it's going to be like our porch. I'm going to do it as a concrete slab, but we're going to kind of play around with it. So I'm going to go to a different view. We're going to click the default 3D view here so we can see with the roof. And because I have not, this started out just as a sketch. I've not fully worked through this design. Not sure exactly how it's going to turn out, but this is how we do. We're just going to play around with it and get it to where we like it. So what we're going to do is go to the first floor plan view. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and I'm going to go up here. We're on the architecture tab. Then we're going to go over here where it says floor. We're going to click that drop down box and click structural. And then we're going to go over here. It's going to give us some different floor types. And see, what we want is not actually in here. So we're just going to click on this generic 12-inch, and we're going to change it to what we want. So we've clicked on that, but we're going to go to edit type, and we're going to duplicate. So I'm going to rename this 4-inch slab. Okay, and then I'm going to click here on the structure. And right now it does not have a material assigned, and it's just 1 foot thick. We're going to change that to 4 inches. So 0 space 4. And then here we're going to click on our little dot, dot, dot box to open material browser. It's so quiet out there tonight. I think everybody's out enjoying the nice weather or something. It's cool where we are, and it should be hot, and it feels wonderful. Okay, so for our porch material, we want this to be a concrete because it's just going to be like a plain concrete porch slab. Let's see. We have got, yeah, let's do cast in place concrete. And that looks fine. So we're just going to pick that one. We're not going to change anything about it. We're just going to choose that one. You can choose a different one if you want. And then just hit OK, OK to get out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to pick lines. Excuse me. I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to come down here on my floor plan view, and I'm going to click. This isn't the framing. We've been grabbing the exterior of the framing, but we're going to click the actual exterior of the house right now. And we're going to do that. Now we're going to use the offset tool. I can't remember if we've already used this. We've got an offset right here, and we're going to go ahead and use this for now. No, we've used the offset. Yeah. Okay, so this is another way to use the offset. This is with the pick lines. So it's not exactly the offset tool, but it's very similar. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 8 feet. So just 8, enter. And what this does is It's in the pick lines tool. So I'm picking this one, but I'm offsetting it. It's similar. It's a little bit different. Okay. So I accidentally made an extra one. And I'm actually going to offset, I'm going to try 2.5 feet. I'm going to come in from these exterior walls because I don't actually want this slab to go all the way to the edge of the sides of the house. I want it to come in a little bit, and I'll show you why after a while. Okay, so here's our little porch slab floor. We're gonna, and I did the trim tool, TR enter, to join those. Okay, I am going to hide this span direction. I'm going to right click on it. I don't use that for my purposes, so I'm just going to right click, hide in view elements. And then let's just go back to our 3D view and take a look at that. So we've just got a basic slab sitting here. It's on the same level as the first floor because that's where we put it. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in now and change that. So I'm going to click on the floor, and you can put this to whatever you want. I'm just going to drop it down 6 inches, and it dropped down without me having to click apply. So notice how there's a gap there. See, this wall ends here. This is my floor right here. So we're going to do something. This is perhaps maybe not the correct way to do this, but it's the way that I do it sometimes. Now, keep in mind, we're doing basic plans here, just very basic. If I were doing this house for a client and it were basic plans, I would not be giving them a foundation plan. Why? Because all of the information, if they're doing a slab, all of the information that they need for their foundation plan can be pulled from the first floor plan. I do foundation plans for detailed plans and for anything that's more complicated. I currently do not locate piers and any kind of structure like for a crawl space because I have spoken with one of my local truss manufacturers about this, kind of like, you know, I'm not educated, I'm not an engineer, I'm not comfortable with locating these things. I'm afraid that I'm gonna mess something up. And I was told just to keep doing what I was doing, which was put a note on there. So I actually put a note on my foundation plans. This is totally cheating, but it's also the proper way for me to handle it because I know what I know and I know what I don't know, and I know what someone else knows better. And so basically, everybody's going to either pour their slab and they need those exterior dimensions, or they're going to be sending it to a truss manufacturer anyway. So they have their own engineers and they're going to calculate that. So just having a note on there that handles that. So that being said, on this house, we're not going to do foundation walls. We're going to totally cheat just to make it look better. Now, like I said, this is not how I handle all of my projects. This is how we're going to handle this one. And when I plan to pick this back up later and turn it into detailed plans, and then we'll kind of deal with it right now. So we'll deal with it then. Right now, we're cheating a little bit. So I'm going to multi-select all of these walls. I'm going to click on one and then control select the others. So I've got all those walls selected, and I'm going to spin this around so we can look at the bottom. So right now, they are constrained to the first floor plan, which is why there's a gap there when we drop this down to 6 inches. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this drop down list and, oh, no, I'm not because we haven't created this yet. Okay. We're going to go, good teaching moment here. Okay, we're going to go down to the front elevation because we have to do something. We only have 3 levels here. We can actually drop this roof down. So just click on that line and grab that and pull it down. and let it snap to the roof. That's perfect. And while we're in here, let's do something else. This scale is not what we want to see. So we're going to click on that and we're going to change it to 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, because that's what we want for our elevations. And these lines go way out. We're just going to leave them for now. But what we are going to do is we're going to create another level, and I'm going to go up here. We're still in the architecture tab. We're going to go up here to level. I'm going to click that. We could copy one down, but we're just going to we're going to draw it in. So I'm letting it snap over here to the end of that one, and I'm going to drag it over here and let it snap to that. So we've got our little dashed alignment lines there. And what I'm going to do is click on that, and then I'm going to click on this level, and I'm going to call it top of footing. So it's going to be T.O. dot. Oh, and you put caps lock on. Whoops, just one footing. And yes, we want to rename the corresponding view. So now I have a level for top of footing. Now, my footing is not going to be way down there, not in a house like this, unless it's on a slope. But what we're going to do, so I'm going to put this at 3 feet. That's a little bit more appropriate. So we're going to click on that. We're going to change that to 3. And so now we have a level for our footing. We're going to go back to this 3D view, and we're going to go do this again. This is real life. Sometimes you do something and realize you had to do something else. So now we've got those selected and we have somewhere to attach them to. So we're going to go back over here to this base constraint, click the drop down box, and now we can attach it to the footing. So what that did was it just dropped those walls down to where they are below the level of the porch and this, okay? The floor that we already have inside. I had a kitty cat there. Okay. So now we have a porch slab right there. We're going to do the same thing for the back. And actually, we can just mirror that. That is totally cheating because I'm going to make it the same. I'm just doing an 8-foot deep porch on the front and do the same thing on the back. So I'm going to give myself a line to mirror across. So I'm going to do DL for a detail line, and then I'm just going to come over here. There's nothing to interrupt me on this wall, so I can easily find the midway point. And I'm going to go ahead and just draw this line through the house left to right. And it's just a plain line right now, but I'm going to go up here to line style. It took me to the modify tab for lines when I activated that line tool. So I'm going to drop that, and I'm going to select center line. And in drafting, this is the line. There's certain line styles that are attached to different things, and this line style is attached to center line. That's just an industry standard. It's a long dash, a short dash. So whenever I have anything that this is going to be temporary, but whenever I have anything like a longer area, like a main living area where I want things to align, like a fireplace and a dining room and a range hood at the end of a kitchen, because I got everything in a line, I will usually put a center line on my plans and leave it there. We're not going to on this one, but so now we've got a center line. It's going to come in really handy for us because we're going to mirror a lot of things from the front to the back. So now being zoomed out a little bit, so I'm allowing some space for the back there. We're going to grab this slab, select it, and then we're going to go up here. I keep feeling like something's messing up because nobody has told me if anything's working properly, but nobody's told me anything's messing up either. So I'm just going to keep going. So we're going to go up here. We're still in the modify tab. Well, I think we are. I got to move my Revit down a little bit. Hold on. Whoa. Bear with me a moment. Not really technical difficulties. I'll blame it on that. I just need to move this a little bit. My sharing software kind of gets in the way and sometimes I can't see what I need to see. So, okay, just had to move around a little bit. So we've got this selected. We're still on the modify. Well, we're on the modify floors tab because we clicked on that floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to now click on the mirror pick axis tool. And then we're going to go click on the center line we just created, and poof, all of a sudden we just magically have another floor back there, and it's just exactly the same. Since we put that at exactly the center front to back of the house, it's gone to the exact same spot right there. Now, when I clicked that center line, when I found that center, that triangle that appeared, that shows us where the center is. So in case you didn't see that, if I type DL dimension line and I'm looking at something and I want to click on this line, if that's the symbol for the midpoint snap. So that's what I did when I found this, so that I know, I'm not just guessing, I know that that's the center. And that's important because when I mirrored that back, if it were just in a place, then that wouldn't be exactly lined up where I want it to be. So now it's exactly lined up, and you'll notice it is also dropped down to the same level because it's going to have the same height settings as this. So this was 6 inches below the first floor plan. This is 6 inches below. And the reason I'm doing 6 inches is because it's just one step down. Now, if you were doing an accessible property, you could do this at the same level. I like to have a 4 to 6 inch step down because I just like to prevent any water intrusion. But if you're needing accessibility, you can put it on the same level as long as you have positive drainage. That means it's draining away from the house. And also, if it's covered. I'm not sure what the rules are. You'd have to check local codes for that. But anyway, we're going 6 inches below because it's just one easy step down. We don't have to mess with steps or anything. It's just a step down. So we've got our floors in. That was pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and hit save because we need to do that. I still have not looked up how to do, I need to make a note of that. Excuse me while I make a note. Okay. I'm going to check on that autosave setting for us for next time. Okay, so we're ready to put in some columns, I think. So we're going to go back to the first floor plan. And we're going to go here to column. Now, you'll notice something. It's going to default to structural column. So if I just click on that, it's going to take me to these kind of columns. And I don't use those in houses. So we just kind of leave them alone. So I'm going to escape out of that, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to click the drop down tool, and I'm going to go to the architectural columns, and you can see they're different. Now, this is what's preloaded in here. I'm pretty sure we could load some other ones in here, but I don't really feel like we need to, because what we're going to do, we're just going to do like a simple wooden column. So I'm going to click this 18 by 18 one here, and we're going to click edit type because we do not want an 18-inch square column. So we are going to duplicate that, and we're going to make a 6-inch by 6-inch column because that's going to be a little bit more appropriately sized for residential purposes. So we're going to change this depth and this width to 6 inch. And then for this category, I want this to be wood. So let's go see what kind of woods are already in here. Now in my template, I have some special ones already in there, but I haven't really dug around in this template for, okay. Let's see what this cherry looks like. No, we really want like, you know, cedar or something like that. So let's see what we've got down here. These are all like, okay. I'm going to type cedar up here and see what it pulls up. Well, that's no fun. Okay, let's go back. So, okay. So let's just do this cherry and then let's see if we can make our own. So what we're going to do is duplicate this one. So I'm going to right click on that. I'm on the cherry. You could really do probably any of these, but I'm going to select this one and I'm just going to call it cedar. And then what I'm going to do, this is really important. I'm going to go over here. It's on the appearance tab. Remember, we're mainly working with the graphics tab and the appearance tab. I'm going to go over here and duplicate so that it doesn't stay the same as that. So what we're going to do, then we can click on this little file here and see we can find something that's a little bit more. That's hickory. That's not bad. Kind of looking for something that is more appropriate for what we're doing. Teak. That's pretty good. Let me just make sure there's not a cedar down here somewhere. It would probably be super, yeah, it's probably going to be super warm, orangey. Let's go with that teak. I think that's going to work. So we're going to pick that one. That looks pretty decent. We can click on this and check the scale. That's 10 inches. That's not too bad. That will work for our purposes. So we're just going to click done and leave that alone. Stain color? No. That's terrible. Now let's click on graphics and see what it's doing over here. If we click use render appearance, that's actually not that bad. I'm going to unclick that and I'm going to go in here and take the saturation down a little bit. So it's at 79. Let's try 60. Yeah, that's a little bit calmer. So let's do 60 and we can always change it if we don't like it. So let's go ahead and hit OK. And then we'll hit, okay, hold on. Uh-oh. Okay. Don't panic. Either Revit crashed or I hit something funny. So I'm still streaming. You just don't see Revit because I don't see Revit because it closed. So let me open back up again. I got to do something real quick while we're waiting on that. Okay. Give it just a minute to open. Here we are. Okay. We're back. And let me share again. Okay. All right. I believe we're back and we'll get this opening while I am dealing with this. Okay, we are back to open. Now bear with me just a minute. I think we lost what we just did. And so we're going to have to go back and do it again. Okay, sure we did. So let's go to our Manage tab and we can check. I'm pretty sure we lost that, which is why we hit Save so often. So we're going to go to Materials and we'll type in wood again. And again, this is real life. If you know, if I did this live tutorial and everything went perfectly, that wouldn't be an accurate representation of how this actually goes, because when you're working with software like this, it crashes and sometimes stuff happens. Your computer could shut off, the power could go off, whatever, things happen. This is why it's so important to save very frequently. And so we just lost a little tiny bit of work. So we're going to go back here. We're going to redo this. So cherry, I'm going to duplicate it. You don't have to do this. I'm the only one who lost it. If you didn't lose yours, go ahead and hit save while I'm redoing. So I'm going to do cedar. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on this. And then it was this one. And we're getting rid of that stain. And we're going to use the render appearance, but we're going to get rid of that. And, oh, it changed. Interesting. We'll go down to 60 and we'll leave it at that. So there, now I have that set. Now notice I just went in through materials real quick. Go ahead and hit save so I don't lose that material. Now I'm going to go back to the column. So architecture column, architectural column, and yes, I just lost that. So here we go. Whoops, I gotta duplicate it. 6 inch by 6 inch. And then now I can click on this ... for the category. And it's already pulled up. There's my new material for my columns. And then I can hit OK. So now we've got these columns. I don't know why that's so ginormous. That should not be that big. So change the size of it, didn't I? I bet I forgot to change the size of it. Ah, I did. Okay. Just lost my mind for a minute, y'all. Okay. Now we're back in business. Okay. So we can place our columns. So we're just going to do 4 columns across the front, and we're going to play around with this because we want it to be proportional. So we're just going to go and see. So I'm going to just stick 4 columns just kind of out here. There's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason to them. We're just doing the front right now. So we are going to go back and look here. So see, they're just kind of hanging out right there. See, they're up on the first floor level because that's what they defaulted to, and I didn't tell it any different. So I'm going to go ahead and multi-select these. Now, I don't know if I've explained this before. I've talked about Revit being a parametric program, but I haven't talked about the different types of parameters. So if I go in here and I go to edit type and I look at all these dimensions here, these are type parameters. So if I change, if I have this, say, column type 1, and I have that as 6 by 6, and I do column type 2, and that's 4 by 4, whatever, I can change these in here. Those are going to change every column of that type. So I'm just going to close out of there. These are instance parameters. And so I have all of these selected right now, but let's just do this. I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to pick this column right here. And where this says base offset, I'm just going to set that at minus 10 feet. Now, what did that do? It changed just that one column because that's an instance parameter. It's only adjusting that singular instance. If I did that in the other place and through the type editor, that would be a type parameter. So you have 2 different things. The types are controlling every instance of that type, whereas the instance parameters are only adjusting the instance that you're selected, that you have selected. So I'm just going to do Control Z to put that back. And what I want to do is change all of these. Now, actually, if I left that, I put that back. And so notice if I click on these, all 3 of these, then it's going to show me the base offset as first floor plan 0, right? Well, if I do this, it's going to tell me it varies because they don't match. But we can still set them to where they do match. So we're still on first floor plan. We're going to click in here and do minus 6 inches. And voila, they're all going to 6 inches. So we've got our columns sitting there. Now they're in all wonky, weird places, but we're going to fix that. Let's hit save. Good reminder. All right, so go back to our first floor plan. And what we're going to do is we're going to align. So we're going to do AL for align. And we're going to go ahead and select multiple alignment. Now, I don't leave multiple alignment on because it's usually, I mean, it's a pain in the rear if you don't need it, and it'll kind of mess you up. But if you're doing something where it's efficient to use it, then use it. Just remember to turn it off. So we're going to do multiple alignment because what that does is it lets me click on this column and then align this column. I'm going to lock it. I'm going to align that one, and that's aligning this one all the way back to this one. Notice how this line reaches back here. And then we can also do this one, still line reaching back to the original one. So I just aligned all three of these with these, with that one. So we've got those aligned. Now, if I move this one up and back, those are going to go right with it. So what I'm going to do is do a dimension line, DI, in case you don't remember. And I'm selecting the front edge of this slab and this right here, this midpoint of this column. And I'm just going to put that over here. And this is a 6-inch column. I'm going to set this at 8 inches. No, that's too far. I'm going to set it at 6 inches. Still a little far. We're going to leave it at 6 inches. And so now those are all staying right there. Now they're in all sorts of weird disheveled spacing, so we're going to fix that. So let's go over here. We're going to click on the right side of that. We're going to grab each of these columns at their midpoint and the end. And I'm just going to drop this down here. Now, whatever this depth is, that's always what I'm going to set this at, because they're going in a corner and they need to be matchy-matchy. So we're going to do that one. Then the others here, this is, I always play around with this. We can see, sometimes I'll do a little bit of math. Usually I just play around with it. This does not always work out to where these are the exact equal distance. Sometimes they're a little bit different, or I mean, if you wanted them to be just right and you're really picky about where your columns are located from the edges, you could just size your porch like that. I mean, you can do whatever you want there. I'm just gonna kind of mess with this a little. See if I go here, that's too much. This is gonna be, that's actually pretty good. I'm gonna leave that like that. A little bit more in the center, but we might adjust things later. So we've got, that's how we locate our columns. So now those are locked into place. We can mirror those to the back if we want to, but notice our windows look kind of ugly now. So now these living room windows over here on the left, those are easy to move because there's plenty of room on that wall. This one, not so much, because we've got that closet right there. So we're either going to have to figure something different out, or change the floor plan, which I'm not really planning on doing that to you guys. How I would probably handle this, not doing this thing here. We've got a little bit of room. We might end up shoving those over there a little bit, but I would probably go back and adjust the size and move these closets back here, which I did think about doing, but I decided not to because I like the closets being here as a sound buffer between the bedrooms and the main living area. Now, if the closets are here, then they serve as a sound buffer between the bedrooms and the bathroom. So it's kind of pick your poison. So, yeah, we can mess with those. We can work with this. So we're going to leave it like that. Now we're going to do something that's going to be totally weird. We're going to hit save before we do it. So we're going to draw a wall. We can go ahead and go to our wall tool since we're handy here. We're going to use the drop down and then we're just going to look through here. I'm going to see what there are. We've got a generic 5-inch wall in here. That's great. This is quite a few walls. So I'm going to select this generic 5-inch wall, but then I'm going to go here to edit type. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to rename it generic 5-inch header. And then I'm going to go in here to the structure, and it's already 5 inches. That's great. But for the category, for the material, I'm going to go ahead and let it be this same cedar so that basically we have a wood header. So there are probably a ton of different ways that you could do headers. This is how I do them. And the size might depend on I mean, it's going to depend on your material. Like if you're doing something that's timber framing and you have, 8-inch timbers or something like that, obviously you're going to do that. For most houses that just have like a typical porch header, this works. And it's close enough in size. I don't mess with the actual structure. My walls, like my regular walls of my house, I want those set up properly, at least for the interior. The exterior, it's a little bit of a toss up as far as how they're actually going to get built. But for the header, this is just kind of a good size that is flexible for me. Maybe you could go 6 inches, but I like them at 5 inches is what I use, and I've not had any problems with them that I am aware of. Now, this is the weird part. So we've got our 5-inch wooden wall. It wants to go to the lowest setting, to top of footing, but we're going to set it to first floor plan. Oh, and it wanted to go up to that. So we gotta choose this to go up to first floor ceiling. So now we're drawing it just like it's an interior wall, even though it's not. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go over here. I've zoomed in on my porch, and I'm not lining them up with my porch columns yet. This seems a little weird. I'm going to draw them off here. Now, I was in the 3D view. You could have done this from either of these. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and then I'm going to align. Now, remember, I turned off my multiple alignment here. So I'm selecting the midpoint of that column, and then I'm going to go over here to that header, and I'm going to lock it in place. And then I'm just going to pick one of these columns, and I'm going to align that and lock that in place. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so this kind of makes some visual sense here. You can go, oh yeah, columns and a header. Here's the weird part. When I go to my 3D view and I click on this, now it looks like some weird kind of sound barrier fence thing. It's weird. Why did I do that? So that I could lock it to the columns. I usually just start off with them like that so that I can have them located. And then I'm going to go ahead and align these to the wall there. So we're just going to make sure that that's wrapping around all the way. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Then we're going to go ahead and set the height where we want it. We won't be able to see them. So I'm going to click on each of these walls. And then this is controlled with the instance parameters. So we're going to control the base offset. So let's go ahead and set this, let's say first floor ceiling -1, and we'll leave that first floor ceiling at 1, and usually a little taller than that, I think, but we're going to leave it like that just for now. So this is where we've got that. That's what that looks like from the front, and it's kind of, it looks okay. I don't know if I love it going into the roof, but we're going to end up cutting that out anyway. So, y'all, excuse me, my throat has been really dry today. So, all this talking is not helping. I almost might want that to be a little bit lower, but we're going to leave it for now. So, now notice that these columns, so we have these headers that are going up to the first floor ceiling height. So do our columns, and it looks weird. So we're going to go in here and just multi-select our columns, and we're going to, they're set to first floor ceiling, but we're going to change that to -1 foot. And now they're going to the bottom there. Whoops, not that far. Okay, so you can see the reason this doesn't line up is because this is wider than this. So this sticks out a little bit. Now there are multiple ways you can handle that, and this gets into structural preferences, and I don't think you can see that outside my window the way that my porch headers are attached to my columns. They're not centered, and I don't like that. it's not my determination. I actually prefer for them to be centered. So if you see like a nice big column and you see a header that's in there in the center and the column sticking out on the side, I believe that, well, I mean, we could probably get into an argument about architecturally correct, because that depends on the style of the home and all of that. Really, if you're building a home, it all comes down to preference of what you like, what you want it to be. But for a pretty traditional home, I feel like it's architecturally correct to have it centered. So whether it gets built like that, who knows? So we've got some headers in there, and we're going to go ahead and hit save, because now we're going to do our roof. So we can do this from right here. And I feel like my window just got really small, so I'm going to make it bigger. And I hope that doesn't mess anyone up. See, I'm going to scoot over a little bit. Okay. So okay, so we're going to go to roof and roof by footprint, which we've done before. Now this is defaulting to the basic roof generic, and we want to go down and select this. Now you could have just done that and then used a matching tool to do that, but we're doing the wood rafter right here. And then we've got it set to pick walls, which is what we want. We're going to click extend to wall core. And I'm going to drop this down to 1 foot, because I will very often not do my porch overhangs quite as deep as the rest of my roof. They don't just have to all match. And it's wanting to go to the first floor plan. So we're going to put it at the ceiling level. And then now you can do this in the 3D view. I do it a lot, but if you're not comfortable with it, you can come back to a different view. The problem is if you go to first floor plan, you can't see those. So you can go to this ceiling view here to be able to see that if you need to. And that's a lot of times why I just do it. So if you click out of there and you do this, you have to click the extend to wall core again. It doesn't really matter in this instance, since there's the core. It's just generic. There's no there aren't any layers to it. But we're gonna click right there. We're just gonna draw this around the outside. And now here I am going to go back to the first floor plan, and I'm going to do pick lines right here, because I want to pick that wall. I'm not locking it. I'm just picking the wall. So I'm going to go here and see what that does. That just made us nothing much of a roof, just boring. So a couple of obvious things that we can do here. We can make it sloped. We have to go to edit footprint, and we need to click on this one if we want it just to slope in one direction, which would be like the simple way to do it. We're going to click on that line and then defines roof slope, and it's going to default to 912. Let's do that and see what it does, because it's not going to work. So see how this is at 7 and this is at 9. So if this keeps going up, it's never going to meet up with this. So when you're doing a separate porch roof like this pitch has to be a lower slope, a lower number than what this is. Otherwise they won't meet up. That's just math. So let's change it to 3, because that's as low as you can go for traditional shingles, and that is probably 9 times out of 10 my porch roofs are 312, and they tend to look good. So we notice we made this attached to this, but it doesn't meet it. So instead of guessing about where to make that attach, we've got a handy little tool here. We're leaving that selected, so we've got that roof selected, and on the modify tab, because it's in the roof tool, we're going to go right up here, and this little cute roof icon is join unjoined roof. And so we're going to click that, and then this will tell you, Revit will tell you kind of your steps. So if you're still new and learning it, or if you say use a tool that you don't use very frequently, and so you're not exactly sure what to do with it, you don't remember, look right down here, it kind of gives you some commands. So we've selected that tool, and then we look down here and it says select an edge at the end of the roof that you wish to join or unjoin. Well, we want this one. This is the edge of the roof that doesn't attach to anything. So we're going to select that. And now it tells us select the face on another roof or wall to which you want the first roof to be joined. Well, we want it to join to this one. So we've selected that edge, and now we want to attach it to that. That's so easy. And it just attaches. It's got a nice clean join, really nice and neat. Now you can see all up under there, that's not nice and neat yet. But as far as the roof on the outside, that actually looks pretty good. So if we look at this from the front, it's not anything terribly exciting, but I could see this on a house. It doesn't look like, ugh, nobody would do that. It's just, it's very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to dress it up just a little bit. I do this a lot. It's just a style that I like. It's rather part of the vernacular of the style of homes that are in my area, and I designed my home to have this style of roof, and I just like it. It's a very timeless look. It's very farmhouse. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that on this porch roof. We're going to select the roof. We're going to go to edit footprint, and then we're going to select both of these end lines, and we're going to do define slope. Now they're set at 3 because that's what this roof is in general. So we'll just go ahead and leave it like that. And now it tells us it can't be joined, so that's fine. We'll unjoin it. So we look at that, and that doesn't look very good. It's not very exciting. But let's play around with it a little bit. So I'm going to, let's change this to 4. Well, you just have to play around. So I'm going to change that one to 4. Now, these don't have to be the same. So I'm going to change these to 8. And I'm going to hit apply, and then we're going to complete this and see what it does. So if you look at it from the front, that looks a little bit better, except for what's going on with these funky lines. So it looks good except for that. And so here's how we're going to fix that. If you have different pitches on the same roof like this, so if this is called this is a gable roof. Sorry, this is basics. Sorry if you already know this. This is a gable roof. This is a hipped roof. So it doesn't have any open gable like these do at the end. But if you have a hipped roof with different pitches in the same roof, then how you fix that in Revit is by adjusting the eaves. So we've gone in there to edit footprint, and we're going to go to align eaves. And you can adjust the overhang. That's one way to do it. And so you're going to adjust how far it actually sticks out from the house. I don't like that. I like to just adjust the height. And so this was kind of my default, the front wall. And you see these are 8 inches lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match these two to the side. So I'm doing adjust height, and it's kind of like the match tool. So I'm going to select this one first, and then I will click that one. And that's going to match that one to that one. And then I'll click that one, and it's going to match it to that. Now, when we go back, we've got a nice clean edge there. And that looks pretty cute. So now we need to join it. And y'all, sometimes you're doing a roof and you want it to join and it doesn't want to join. This one should be simple, and let's fingers crossed it just works without giving us a fit. So we're going to click on the unjoin roof tool, and then we're going to click on this edge. You don't have to do these. If you're doing this big one, it should work. So we'll click that one, and we want it to join there, and yay, it worked, except it goes way back up there because I did 412, and I don't really like it. So let's go change that. Let's put it back to 3. Normally, if you just had a flat roof, you could adjust it over here with the slope. But since we have 2 different slopes, pitches in that same roof, we can't do that. So we're going to go back to edit footprint, and we're going to pick this one, and that 4, not really loving it. So let's go to 3. Whoa. It got really angry. Okay, let's try this again. Did I hit something funny? We've got that there. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go back because I want to see what it's doing, what's making it angry, because I do this all the time and I don't usually have problems with it. Okay, so we're back to our 312. I just hit Control Z like 500 times. And I'm going to try this. So that was the 312. I'm going to do these at, I'm going to say 6, since that was not working before. And okay, I'm fine if they don't join. Now I have to adjust my eaves, edit footprint, align eaves, and I'm going to do adjust height. These numbers changed because I changed the numbers of the slope. So we're going to put all those there. Now, let's try again and I hope it doesn't get angry. Yay, it worked. Okay, so there might have just been some math thing in there that it didn't like. Okay, and you know, this isn't bad right here. I don't mind that too much. I think let's go ahead and hit save. And then I think I'm going to do one thing here. So I'm going to select these because I want to bring them down a little bit lower, just a little bit. So they were at 1 foot below the first floor ceiling, and I want them to go a smidge lower. So I'm going to do -1 space 2 and apply that. And part of the reason is where this is connecting right here. So I'm going to also multi-select all these columns and do the same thing. Put them at 1, 2 below, okay? And then, yep, that's looking better. So we've got our porch floor and columns and a roof. And y'all, that was actually the goal that I had for today. So we're doing great. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. We can take this a little bit further. So if we notice this kind of boring mess up under here, I want to put a ceiling in there and I want to make it look a lot neater. So we know how to do ceilings. So let's go to our first floor 3D with ceilings view. Now, why is this roof showing? Because when I hid that roof, I did it as the element instead of the category. So what we're going to do is, how we can find that is we'll go down here, this tiny little light bulb. If we click that, it makes some things appear pink. The things that are pink are what we've hidden. So let's hover over this, right click, and then we can do unhide in view elements. Ah, okay. Hey, Brandon. We're nearly finished. We've done a ton of good stuff for today, so you'll have to catch it on the replay. We've got a porch going on. Okay, so we've unhid that, and now we're going to unclick that so it just looks normal. So we don't need this view. What we need is no roof. So we're going to right click on this and then do hide in view. But before I did elements, we need to do category. So there we go. That took out all the roofs, and then any other roofs that we add in there, it will also have those be hidden as well. So let's see. We're going to put our ceiling. So we've got this ceiling right here, and that is, I guess we must have left that in a hurry because it's ugly. So let's select that one. We're going to go to edit type, and it has no material assigned. So let's just go in here, and we want it to just be white. So let's do white. Y'all, my nose itches like crazy. I'm not just over here trying to pick my my nose, you know, for the whole world to see. That's not what I want to go viral for. My nose just itches. Oh, we live in a world now where everybody's scared to cough or sniff or anything, and I promise that if I'm sneezing, it's just like allergies. So never been so happy to sneeze in my life before. If I'm sneezing, I'm like, whew, okay, I'm good. That's not a symptom. Okay, so we just want this to be white. So we've got this clad white material in here. That's our default. So we're going to grab that. We're going to make this ceiling white. So there. So we're just going to use the same one for this porch ceiling, basically doing the same thing. We're going to go to the architecture tab, ceiling, and we're going to sketch the ceiling. So we are going to do pick lines. We're going to come in here and we're going to grab the edge, the front side of this wall. We're going to click on that. We are going to lock to it. And then we're going to catch the inside of each of these headers and lock to them. Now it's putting it on the first floor, because I didn't tell it not to. Basically, Revit's going to tell you, it's going to do whatever you tell it to do. So now I'm using the trim tool, TR, to get those. Now, if we hit enter, it's just going to stick it down there in the first floor. Super weird, super ugly. And what we're going to do, we can go over here. We're going to move it up to the first floor ceiling plan. Super easy. Now, let's make this a little bit more interesting. I'm actually going to drop it down an inch because I noticed there was a little bit of a gap where that roof was cutting. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm going to leave it alone because I think we're going to fix it here in a minute. See this little weird gappy thing here? Okay. I want to make this a different color. So I'm from the South. And we like light blue porch roofs. If you're from the South and you know about this, there are a couple of different theories, and you can look it up, but just go do a Google search for haint blue ceilings, haint as in H-A-I-N-T, so paint with an H instead of a P, and go look for that. So there, you'll find some things where I think it will keep like bad spirits away. So if you're talking about like deep south, there are also theories about it keeping wasps away. Now, I have paint blue ceilings and for all my porches, and it does not keep the wasps away. We still have to battle the wasps. So if you're going for that approach, don't do that. And ours actually need to be repainted or replaced or something. We just have the beadboard. They're gonna have to be replaced sometime soon. And we have a family debate that will probably go on for several years until we actually make up our mind and do something about it. But we're debating whether we want to keep the blue or if we want to change it and replace it with like a really nice solid plank, beaded plank, and have them be a nice stained wood color. I think that would look really nice too. But I kind of can't let go of my blue porch ceilings on my farmhouse. So anyway, we are going to make these blue. You'll notice if you get plans from me, even if you don't ask for it, your porch ceilings are blue. So if you don't want blue porch ceilings, you're working with me, you have to specify something else. Otherwise, they're going to be blue. They'll just be very, very slightly blue, and you might not notice, but they'll be blue. It's a southern thing. So we're going to go in here. So our generic ceiling is just this white color. We're going to go to Edit, Type, and we're going to duplicate. And we're going to rename this. I'm just going to call it Blue Porch. You can call it whatever you want. Make hot pink for all I care. But then we're going to go here to the material. And this is going to be a little bit tricky because I actually like to load Sherwin-Williams colors into my project. And I suppose this will be something we'll have to look at later, because right now I'm only sharing Revit, not my entire screen, and we might have to do that another time. And I'll show you where you can find these things, but you can load in libraries. I'm not going to do that right now because if you don't have that downloaded, it's not really going to help you out that much. I need to show you where to find it. But if you dig around, you can do it, and you can probably figure it out going down here. But basically what I'll do is I'll load in a Sherwin-Williams library, and then I can search a color and it'll pop up down here and I can bring it into the project. It's really nice. What we're going to do right now is just see kind of like what we've got in here. I'm going to type in blue and see if anything pops up. Okay, we've got some blues down here. So we might be able to like borrow something and Oh, see, it's popping up my Sherwin-Williams colors, but I don't think that you guys are gonna have that. So it's kind of like not fair. It's not fair. Steel paint finish blue. Let's do these because these should be defaulted into, I'm pretty sure these came with a template, so you guys can use these. So you can pick something else, whatever pops up down here. You can do something different or just leave it white if you want to, but I'm going to add this material to the document. Now, this is really bright. Like, that is not paint blue. So we're going to have to go, I will not click on the Pantone because I remember what happened a week or two ago. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to kind of play around in here. I'm going to come down here and get it a little bit more desaturated. I like blues that have a little bit of green in them. Basically just kind of like finding a blue that I like. Just going to do kind of like a really dusty blue. So if you want the RGB value for this one, if I stick with this one, actually I want it to be a little bit lighter. I want it to be kind of a grayed out powdery blue. So my RGB value for this is 205, 214, 226 if you want to use that. My saturation is 68. I'm going to leave that alone because otherwise the RGB value is going to change. Okay, so we're just going to go with that. So I'm going to do, okay, so that changed my appearance to just this really soft powdery blue. And then if I go to graphics and use the render appearance, it's going to have that same one. So I'm not using this for steel, so I'm actually going to rename this as paint blue. And I probably should go name my okay. So that's not too bad. I kind of like it. So it's got a calm vibe. So I'm going to do one thing while I'm in here. I'm going to go to manage. We're going to go to materials, and I'm going to go change that white clad that's been driving me bonkers. So I click white, and how you name things in here is actually important because I'll show you why. So, quit thinking. Gotta have this by now. Okay. So I'm just going to right click on this, and I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to do the same thing I did here, paint dash white. So now if I want to look for a paint color or something I already have set, then it's just going to group all those together. So, I could have called those white paint and blue paint, but if I just typed, I like them to be clustered together because I'm going to pull one up and then it's going to show those all together. So, okay, so we just changed that. It's just a nomenclature thing. I like for things to be neat and tidy if I can have them that way. So we've got a nice blue porch roof here. We're going to hit save. And there's one thing about these windows that is bothering me. So we're here in this view, other than the spacing. So I'm going to click on this window, and I'm going to go to edit type. This is the obvious way to get here. You can also just do this through manage, but I want to double check something. So if I go in there, edit, and I do the glass pane material and it says glass, I want to go double check what glass material this is. Okay, so it's just plain glass. So see how this is like a really intense blue? So if we go to the appearance, it's just clear glass. So we're going to go to graphics. If we click render appearance for that, see, it takes it to this really soft, it's almost like a slightly tinted green. So I'm going to click off of that, and see, it's like this kind of seafoam green, and I'm going to take it down just a little bit. I ended up at 223, 230, 228, and I'm going to hit OK. So now it's going to have to think a while when it does this. When I hit OK, I was hoping it would move that out of the way. Okay, it hasn't done it yet. So basically we're going to do, see, this is that material that was set for graphics for glass. It's like it's too intense. And I'm going to hit OK. Oh, it didn't have to think very long. And that just, it changed all of those to just be a little bit more realistic. I actually usually have them tinted a little bit more of that bluish greenish, but This definitely works. It's a lot better. So we've got our basic components of our porch going on there, and I think that looks really nice. So we're gonna do kind of one more thing here to clean that up. And so we've got the porch here. We've got our headers and we've got our ceiling here. But you see how our ceiling, we still got this roof under here. Well, we're gonna get rid of that. Now, I want to point one thing out before we actually cut this out. So notice if I highlight this roof, it's showing everything. Excuse me a moment. Is someone burning something? Is something burning? I smell smoke, but I don't see smoke. Okay, just losing my mind. It literally smells like somebody's roasting hot dogs, and I'm over here on YouTube tripping out. I hope it's not my computer. My computer too hot? Okay, I'm gonna write that down in my log of phantom smells. Okay, y'all, I'm just weird. I still smell it. It smells like my husband is like burning cardboard or something, but I'm pretty sure he's not because I would see smoke. So, okay, sorry. Squirrel. I'm on fire. I'm not on fire. No joke. It smells like somebody's either burning like cardboard or papers or something, or kind of like roasting hot dogs. It's kind of, he's blowing stuff up. We do burn a lot of stuff. Where we are, we're in rural Arkansas, and it's not very easy for us to recycle around here. So a lot of stuff that we burn our sensitive documents and stuff, but if we have like cardboard boxes and things like that, that just, there's no point in putting them in the trash because they don't need to go into a landfill, we'll burn them. Recycling would be better, but recycling is really difficult for us because it's just not made easy for us around here. It is what it is. So anyway, it's not uncommon for us to be burning stuff or burning brush, but yeah, I think I'm just losing my mind. I think it's my mind that's on fire today. So anyway, back to our roof. So if I do this, okay, where was I? Square footage. So, or it's areas. So we're gonna, that is, I'm losing my mind. Y'all, I'm fixing to be done here and I'm gonna go watch some TV and I'm gonna go rest. Okay, so we see that that is highlighting the roof, but it's down there. So if we look over here, I've got this roof selected, and we look over here where it has dimensions. Well, we've been looking at the slope, but look at this. This tells me the volume of it, which I don't ever use, but it tells me the area. So that's the surface area. This I do use. I put this on my prints because this helps the roofers out. Now, whether they trust it or not, I don't know, but I put it on there. And many years ago, I was doing a home show here in Russellville, and there we have a pretty large roofing company around here. It's very, very well known, and I'm assuming it was the owner. If not, it was the manager, somebody high up. He was there doing the show, and he came over and he wanted to play around. He wanted to like kind of see how accurate this was. Now, this is a guy who probably knows off the top of his head, if you look at, a roof of approximate dimensions and certain pitches, um, about what that area is going to be. Probably been doing it for 20 or 30 years. He wanted to see these measurements and he said, okay, so if I change that to a 12-12, what does that do? And he was kind of at the time mind blown that you could get those numbers that quickly and that easily. And from that point on, I realized, hey, there's actually a benefit to that. I have access to these numbers, it's right there. So what I do is on my roof plans, and we'll see this, but a little bit later on, but I put these areas on my roof plans and I break them down for the different roof sections and then I add them all up. Here's the thing with that. if your roofs aren't accurate, your numbers aren't accurate. So we're looking at these areas here as a square footage for the surface area of where shingles are going to go. Well, shingles aren't going to go up under here because that's not going to be seen. So we need to cut it out, partly because it's ugly in part of it and we need it gone, but it's a twofold reason, because we want those areas to be as accurate as possible. So we clicked off of that roof, and we're going to go to the architecture tab. And over here, we've got several different options for openings. I use the wall opening sometimes, but I use the dormer opening on every single project for the most part. I mean, unless it had this roof and no other roofs, I'm pretty much using the dormer opening. So we're going to click on that, and then again, it's going to give you directions for what to do down here. So it says select a roof to be cut by the opening. So we're going to click this one. Okay. Now this gets a little bit funky sometimes, so you have to play with it. Sometimes Revit just gets fussy and you have to finesse it a little bit or find a workaround. So it wants us to pick a roof and wall edges. So we are going to select this roof because that's what joins to it that we want to cut out. Now I clicked on that roof and it automatically selected those edges. Now, where's the other part? It's right here. So we want to click on this edge of the roof that we're cutting right here so that we can complete our circle here, polygon really. So I'm going to trim this. That was TR. We're going to trim that right there, and then we're going to hit enter. And now look what this did. Now it did do something a little bit funky right there. I don't like that. But for right now, for our purposes, that actually doesn't look too bad. And so we've just got a nice neat up in there. Now, as far as what it did here, basically we want to, like I said, we want to finesse it a little bit. So that cut went all the way out there. And if we actually look at an overhead view, well, we can't really do that. Let's look at it from this view. We're going to go to our first floor of ceilings, see how it cut out there. And basically, we want to figure out exactly where we want that roof to stop. And this is where you're going to think, you know, in real life. I feel like I just moved something when I did that. No, I don't think I did. Okay. So basically, I don't want it to cut out there, but I do want it to cut out there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see this was not selected. So I got to select that again because I want to go back and edit it. So I want to cut it to this edge. Now it only put a tiny little line here, and we're drawing, this whole opening is just skewed like this. So the thing is, it's easy, I think, if you're new to Revit, or especially if you're new to like 3D modeling, it's easy to get disoriented and get kind of lost in the view. So if you're in a 3D view and you're trying to edit any kind of geometry like this and you get lost and you can't tell what's going on, go to a plan view. This is a ceiling view. You can go to any of these views. You can edit these in any of these views. It's a matter of where can you get where you can see stuff. So don't be afraid to try a different view. That other one was a little confusing. I can do it, but I've gone here to the first floor plan, so that's a little bit easier. So I selected this, and this is what it gave me of the outside of that header. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this right here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and click that, and here's what that did. So it gave me that back. So it only cut out where the header is and inside the header, which is what I needed. So this one, see, it's just gone down to a point. It's kind of a subtle difference. It's something that would be easy. I'm pretty sure that when I first started learning how to use this dormer opening tool, this is something that probably frustrated the heck out of me, trying to figure out how it thinks and how it wants to do. And Revit kind of has a mind of its own at times, and you have to learn what it wants. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to pick the roof wall edges. We're going to come at the exterior of this. Now I can, spin this around a little bit and see that's not that bad. So we can trim it from here. The only thing is, remember, this is skewed how you're looking at it. So if you come over here and you think it lines up, it might not. So my suggestion is to come way over here to make sure you're not cutting it off in the other direction. We talked about that before. Oops. So there we have it. So that is a pretty nice little roof. Let's hit save so we don't lose that. Okay, so it's starting to look like a house. The window location, absolutely terrible. And let's just mess with that a little bit and then have one other thing that I'm going to do. We're just going to relocate these on the front. So I'm going to dimension these. So that was DI for dimension. And what I'm going to do is click on this column and this window and this window and this column. Now this dimension is not staying, so it doesn't matter really where I put it. I'm going to stick it over here. And what this shows is, we were looking at from the front how these windows are not centered between these columns, but we pretty much have the columns where we want them. So if you want those windows actually centered between those columns, as based upon looking on at the front elevation, this is how you can do it. So I have them at 4 feet apart right now. So if I just want, oh, these windows are so fussy. We have to activate the dimensions because they're fussy. And let's just put it 3 feet from that one. And then let's click on this window, activate dimensions, and then let's make it 3 feet over here. So they're still a little bit further apart. So I'm gonna kind of creep them together a little bit. But basically what I'm doing is putting them equidistant from the column. So this window is the same distance away from this column as this one is from this one. And so we look at the front, that does that. Now, I haven't decided yet if we're going to leave these as two, like, far apart, if we're going to combine them into one. But the tricky thing with this whole window location is over here, we've got this wall. So let's do the same thing over here. In all reality, I should have messed with these first because they're going to be kind of the driving factor here. So we put these at what? 3, 4. So let's try this one at 3, 4 from this column. Oh my goodness, those activate dimensions. Okay. Let's put this at 3, 4 and see if it crashes into the wall. It does not. It's a little close for my taste, but let's move this one. It's not horrible. We'll probably mess with it later, but at least it just doesn't look terrible from the front. The only thing that's bad about this, you have to look at this. So, you might look at a floor plan and think, oh no, this door is going to block that window. These doors, you see the swing. Now, these bedroom doors could stay open a lot. That's why they're really in a nice little hidey hole spot. But these are closet doors. They're not going to stay open all the time. So those are going to be closed. So that window would actually be fine. And we might want to spread these apart a little bit and put a desk, in between them or something. Or in this case, it could be nice to put a desk right here. But the fact that they're not centered in the room, I'm okay with that. We can always leave these centered in the room back here if we didn't have a porch, or we could adjust the size of the porch or something. So that's one of those things. You can put those wherever you want. We'll probably end up scooting them closer together. Let's go ahead and scoot them closer. So let's do, say, 3, 8. We had those at 4 feet apart before. So we're going to do this. That puts them back the same distance they were. I think we're going to end up doing, because I want to show you guys how to actually tweak those to make them combine. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and hit save. Let's look at this from the front. And then the last thing that we're going to do before we call it quits for tonight is we learned how to do our interior perspective camera views. We've got these that we shot last week. Okay. So we know how to do that. So we're going to do the same thing for the exterior. So I'm going to close those because we don't need those. We don't need this view either, so we can close that. Honestly, we don't need that right now. So sometimes I'll get this so full that I just gotta close some windows. So we're gonna go here to this first floor plan. That's my working one. See, there's pretty much not anything here. And we're gonna zoom out a ways. And we're gonna click on view. And we're gonna go 3D view and then camera. And we're just gonna do a nice front view. Now I just clicked out somewhere out here and I'm shooting right through the center there. And there we go. That's just a nice view. Now I will say something. I got pretty far back and this has a lot of space around it. I can change that. But I want to show you something. And this, for anyone that does photography and knows about I don't even know exactly what it's called. It has to do with kind of your focal length, but it's how far away you are from your subject. So basically, if you're photographing a person and you shoot with a wide angle lens and you get really, really close up, it's unflattering because it squishes everything out flat. But if you shoot a person from a long distance with a telephoto lens, it's just more flattering on their face. I'm not a professional photographer, maybe a serious pro or serious amateur. So I'm not an expert at this. I just kind of know the gist of it. Basically, with portraiture like that, it's more flattering to shoot from further away. It's depth of field. Well, it's not totally depth of field because yeah, we're going to get into a big photography discussion, but basically, if you know this principle about if you have been in a group photo taken with an iPhone, which has a nice wide angle lens on it, and you were the unfortunate person to be on either side, and then you saw the photo later, and it's not exactly the focal distance. I guess I'll have to look it up. Brandon, we'll talk about this tomorrow, I guess. I'm going to have to figure this out, but you'll see where I'm going with it here in a minute. So if you were in a group photo taken with an iPhone or any kind of wide angle lens, and you were unfortunate enough to be on either end, and then you look back later and see the photo and you're like, oh my God, I'm a cow. This is like, if you're taking photos with me and someone's shooting with their phone, I'm going to try to be in the middle or close to the middle, because the further you get out to the side, it's just stretching you out. And basically, it's this whole principle of it's more flattering to shoot from far away and it's not so flattering to shoot from close up. That same principle applies here. So we just shot that one view from kind of far away. It's a 3D view one. I'm going to shoot another one, but I'm going to go really close up and pretend like I'm taking a picture with an iPhone. And I'm going to come right up in here and I'm going to just shoot right through there. Now notice I don't have the full width of the house in that view. So I'm really close up. So I'm going to actually just scroll out a little bit and I'm going to expand this to where I have everything in my view and see how ugly and distorted that is. It looks terrible. But when I go back to this one, okay, it looks more like a house. So I can click on this view line here and I can bring this back in, you know, just kind of something like this. And then if I do zoom all, this is way more flattering than this. Now we can adjust the height and things like that, but for this reason, when I'm shooting exterior perspective views, I like to really step back from it. And depending on what you're doing with this, sometimes it takes some playing around to get an attractive angle. It's just like photography. So if you're a photographer and you know some good photography principles, it makes this a little bit easier. And the great thing is people who are into architecture tend to also be into photography. They're just kind of like some skill sets that really complement each other. And I love to do photography. I'm kind of it's a little bit more of a hobby for me. I don't like to say I'm a professional. Technically, I do get paid occasionally, so I guess I'm technically a professional, but I'm not like a full-time professional photographer. That's not what I do for a living. I consider it a hobby that supports my real job, basically, because when I get better at photography, it's all developing my eye, and that makes me better at design, and vice versa. It's all training your eye. So we don't want this one because it's ugly. So I'm going to go ahead and name it the ugly view. So I'm going to double click down here because we might want to reference it later. The ugly view. Yes, I can type. Name. Okay. So we're going to close it out. This is ugly. Okay, so we've got this one. So what we're going to do, this one's a keeper. So I'm going to rename this one. And you know, I like my naming system. So I'm going to name this one exterior. And I'm going to call it O1 front. There's a reason why I'm doing this. I promise I'm going to wrap up soon because it's 8 o'clock and we've been about an hour and a half. So we're going to go back up here to the default 3D view camera. And instead of coming in here close, I'm going to scroll out and come far back. And you can play around with what works for you. So I'm going to shoot from this, just kind of from an angle here. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring these in. And then ZA. Now I can actually get rid of this line right here by going right here. This is the crop region. It's like the boundary for the crop region. So we're gonna hide that, and then that's there. Now there's nothing left. There's nothing else there right now. We don't have sky or a topo or anything like that in, so it doesn't really make a difference. So you can crop it, you can not crop it, and I typically leave mine cropped unless there's something I want to see. And then I will usually leave this here while I'm working with stuff, and then when I'm doing like presentation views, I'll get rid of it. But I'm going to rename this one exterior O2 front left. Now I'm going to go around the entire house and do that for all the views. And I don't know exactly what you would call these. I call them my quadrant perspectives because I'm doing them at quadrants. So I do these because I use the, as soon as I have my exterior pretty well set, then I go shoot off these views, and this is what I send to clients, because this is, like I said before, this is what looks pretty close to what we see with the human eye. So when I show people images like this is what their house is going to look like. You can't see an exterior elevation view in real life because we have eyeballs and we're looking in a perspective view. So I'm just going to go around real quick. You can do the same thing, or you can do this later. Just going to do these for all of them. I feel like I need music playing for this. Y'all, it feels really awkward for me because I typically have music playing all the time. I can't stand to be in my office with no music playing. Okay, I'm at left, rear left. I can't stand to be in here because I feel like when there's no music playing, it feels like time is just stopped and I'm in no man's land. And so I pretty much always have to have music playing. It might also be that I'm just a music geek. Once upon a time, long ago, in a galaxy far away, but not really, just a few miles away, I was a music major. So kind of got a thing for music. My dad was a musician and he was wonderful. And I guess I got it from him. But my mom could sing and play piano too, so I guess I got it from her. She played saxophone in her college band. I forgot about that. Sorry, Mom. Okay. They learned a new show for marching band every week. And when I was learning one show for the entire season for college marching band, and she told me that, just felt like it wasn't very good. Because I'm like, how in the world did you learn an entire new show for every week? There are universities that do that to this day. And I'm like, how do people do any schoolwork? Because we practiced a lot. And yeah, okay. Rear, right. You can have your own naming system for this. Unless you work for me, then you have to follow my naming system. I'm such a mean boss. Okay. We're almost there. I did something weird. Okay, this one is hopping up at the top and I wanted an order and it's because I missed a space in there. Silly little thing. Okay. Working our way around. Couple more. These don't have to be just exact because I usually scooch them around a little bit later on. Okay. What was that shoot for? I missed that. Okay. I've said a lot of things, so I don't know what that was in reference to. Oh, I think I have one more episode of Shadow and Bone to watch, and I'm hoping to finish it tonight. I think the rest of my family has finished it, but I'm the one who started watching it. I said I'm a mean boss. Uh-oh. I'm not. My kids will say I am, but I'm not really their boss. Well, one of them I am. You disagree. Aw, thank you. Okay. I accept mugs, but my family will say I don't accept mugs because I need to have a mug purging. Okay, so I will say I did this wrong from my own rule. I broke my own rule. I think I actually do exterior like 01 dash, but honestly, the dash doesn't matter. The reason I did this is so that they just they sit where I want them to. And I've done this system for so long, I just kind of it keeps me a little bit grounded because I know where I am. And also keeps them up at top because I'll do detail views and stuff like that. So basically, let's go back to the beginning. We're almost done with this and just make these look a little bit nicer. We're going to hide the crop region and then we're going to go here and do consistent colors. Now, yeah, let's go ahead and do this right now because it'll make this way more efficient for the rest of this. So this will be our last thing that we learn for the night. Okay, so we just clicked on this. We know how to change between like hidden line and consistent colors. You can also do wireframe. Scary. Sometimes it comes in handy when you can't find something. You need to like see through things. Shaded is a little bit of a funky view. And don't click on realistic. It will take forever to load. Unless you're wanting to check materials like actual render materials before you take it into a rendering program or render in Revit. But we're going to go to consistent colors, which is where I usually keep it. But I'm going to go ahead and go to the graphic display options because we can dress this up a little bit. Here are a few things you can do. You can do cast shadows, apply. This is super harsh. Not doing that right now. We can do show ambient shadows. That's really soft. Well, actually, let's go back to the cast shadows. I'm going to show you how to soften those. And then for sketchy lines, I'm going to show you how to do this, but then we're going to turn it off. So I'm going to do enable sketchy lines and jitter. Let's just take this up really high. See, it's going to make them look a little bit more hand drawn. I did it really extreme. If I were using jitter, I would only do like 1 or 2 a little bit. I typically don't use it. I played with it a lot when it was new, and I just don't love it. What I will do is use extension. And what this is, I'm doing this extreme. It shows if you were hand drawing, drafting architecture and things like that, you don't like your lines to meet. It's a thing to have your lines crisscross and hang over. So I will usually have those at like a 2 or 3 or something, and I do actually have that on my finish, like on my construction documents. I don't on these while I'm working with them. I leave that on 0 because I want to be able to zoom in and have things be crisp and clear. So I wait and do that later. Depth cueing, we're not going to mess with that. Lighting, we are, just because see how the shadows are at 50 and they're so harsh. I'm going to take that down to 10, and you have to hit enter. No, you can't. You can click on something else there. And that just made those really soft. You can play around with that. Maybe take them 20. They're a little bit, and we'll mess with lighting and stuff way more later. But that is it's just a visual representation. I like the shadows because it just kind of adds something to it. And then we're not messing with realistic. Background, we're going to do this one thing. We're going to do gradient, okay? And it is set, I don't know if it defaults to this or if I have this in some settings or something, but this is what it's defaulting the sky to. And I'm actually going to add a little bit more blue to it because I like it to be kind of blue-green, but it's a little too blue. So let's try, or it's a little too green. Let's try 212. Let's try 216. That's better. So I've got an RGB value of 189, 209, 216, and I'm going to leave that there. I'm just going to leave this like this and hit OK so you can see what it looks like. So this gives us an actual horizon there. I typically have a topo in there, so I actually do this a little bit differently. So I'm going to go back here to background. And what I will do is set the ground color as, let's make it the same as the sky color just for a minute. 189 tab 209 tab 216 and enter. Okay, we can hit apply. So that looks kind of dumb right there. Okay, but now let's do it this way. We're going to make this the same as this one, and this is really a matter of taste. That's why I kind of fish around on it. I might do it differently on different projects. So if I do this, oh my goodness, come here. You've got a hoarse sore throat too. What the heck? Come here. Come here. This is the one that whines because she wants to go outside, and she just brought a toy in and she wants to play. So mommy needs to hurry up so that we can go play. Okay, now I'm all furry. Okay, so we changed that. We're going to change this one to the same color. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to get rid of that harsh. No, it didn't. Okay, brain fart here. Let me think of what I do. I make these two the same. Okay. I'll get it here. Again, I have this set in my template. So, okay. So we're going to make this one 189, 209, 216. Okay. And we're going to make these actually lighter. I just did this backwards. So I'm going to set that okay. And I'm going to make this one the same. We want the two bottom ones to be the same. That's the whole point of this. The two bottom ones should be the same. So 224, 234, 237. Okay, now I hit apply. Now that looks really stupid right here, but when we have a topo in, when I say topo, I mean topo surface. topo surface is like the ground. So I always have a topo surface in there that's just grass. It's a nice green color. And then I let this have a little bit of gradient there. But I'm going to hit OK. Now, what I didn't do was I'm going to go back. I'm going to graphic display options, and I'm going to save as a view template. And so let's do this as I don't know what's already set in there. So we'll do all caps, exterior perspective. You can name that whatever you wanted. So there, it didn't really have much of anything in there. And then I'm just going to hit OK. So I hit OK. Now, when I go through all of those, what I would normally do is just change them all to consistent colors, which you can do. But you can also come through here and just scroll down over here. Now I'm not selected on anything. I'm just on that view. And where it says view template, I can hit here, and then I created that. And all I have to do, and then I can just assign that to all of those. So that's pretty easy. I actually, yeah, I mean, we can go ahead and change all of those. We're kind of a step ahead of the game. It's really about what are you comfortable working with? Because I know for me, I really feel like I have my whole process is kind of broken down into two phases. I have my design phase and then like my documentation phase. The thing is with Revit, it's all parametric. So while you're working on all of this stuff, it's working on the construction documents at the same time. So I'm gonna hit save, and then I'm gonna go ahead and stop my sharing so that you can see me for a minute. So basically, it's doing a lot of things for you while you're doing this, but I like to go back and clean things up. So it's kind of like, what are you comfortable working with while you're working on it? And you know, if you like to look at it in hidden line view, you can. If you like it in consistent colors, you want more detail, it really comes down to a personal preference and what you're used to. I usually like to work with things in consistent colors because it helps separate things a little bit, whereas in hidden line it's not. So some things I'll work within that and then switch to hidden line for construction documents, and some things I'll take to this. But that gives you a little bit more control over what you want things to look like. So that's wrapping that up for tonight. So we got our front porch. We're just going to mirror everything to the back for the back porch. So if you want to keep going and you want to do that and you're feeling comfortable, you just want to play with it, go for it. You can work on that. But next week, we're probably not going to have a live stream. I have a daughter graduating from high school on Monday. And then Wednesday, I have a little surgery, and then I'm going to be recovering for a while. So probably not going to feel up to live streaming. If you know, Thursday, maybe, I'm definitely not going to feel like a Wednesday night. But if Thursday, I'm just feeling fabulous, then, you know, we might go for it. But I'm planning on probably not. So we will probably take next week off, but if you guys see me put it out there that I'm doing one, then yeah, jump on there. If not, then we should be back the following week, that following week will definitely not be on Wednesday because I got something going on that Wednesday. And yeah, I'm going to be taking a road trip with the daughter that's graduating from high school. We're really excited about it. So I might be kind of doubling up on some weeks here and there, playing a little bit of catch up after we get back or something. But basically, by the time we reach, it's going to be a little bit wonky for the next month. And then after that, we should be back to like Wednesday nights pretty consistently. Or, you know, if anybody's out there that just loves this and likes being live and you like a different night, let me know. But for the most part, we should be able to be back to that. So anyway, I'm just going to sign off. And thank you guys for joining. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like button and, you know, tell a friend, subscribe. And I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks. Everybody have a good evening.